Something was wrong. One morning, John Seville found himself walking along a street downtown. He could not explain what he was doing there or how he got there, or where he had even been earlier. He didn't know what time it was that he saw a woman walking toward him and stopped her. "I'm afraid I forgot my watch," he said, and smiled. "Can you help me find out what time it is?" She said, "There's a clock right there." When she saw him, she screamed and ran. Then John Seville noticed that other people were afraid of him. When they saw him coming, flattened themselves against a building or ran across the street to the other side. "There must be something wrong with me," John Seville thought. "I better go home." He hailed a taxi, but the driver took one look at him and sped away. John Seville did not understand what was going on, and it scared him. "Maybe somebody at home can come and get me," he thought. He found a telephone and called his wife, but a voice he did not recognize answered. "Is Mr. Seville there?" he asked. "No, she's at a funeral." The voice said, "Mr. Seville was killed yesterday in an accident downtown." Wow, that's harsh. The bride. The Meister's daughter had just gotten married. After the wedding ceremony, there was a great feast with music and dancing and contests and games, even old children's games. When they got to playing hide and seek, the bride decided to hide in her grandfather's trunk up in the attic. "They'll never find me here," she thought. As she climbed in to the trunk, the lid came down and cracked her head, and she fell unconscious. Inside, the lid slammed shut and locked. No one will ever know how long she called for help or how hard she struggled to free herself from that time, or how she was feeling. Everyone in the village searched for her, and they looked almost everywhere, but no one thought of looking into the trunk. After a week, her brand new bride, groom, and all the others gave up for lost. Years later, a maid went up in the attic looking for something she needed. "Maybe it is in the trunk," she thought. She opened it and screamed. There lay the missing bride that they were looking for the whole time. This is one of my favorites, the voice. Ellen had just fallen asleep when she heard a strange voice. "Ellen," it whispered, "I am coming up the stairs. I'm on the first step. Now I'm on the second step." Ellen got scared and called her parents, but they didn't answer. She thought she was thinking, but "Ellen, I'm on the last step." Then she got scared. "Now I'm in the hall. Now I'm outside your room." Bennett whispered, "I'm standing right next to you." And then, "I've got you!" Ellen screamed, and the voice stopped. Her father rushed into the room and turned on the lights. "Somebody's in here," Ellen said. They looked and looked and looked. Nobody was there. And here's the bad news. Leanne and Tom loved baseball when they were young. They had played on town's best baseball team. Leanne had been pitcher and Todd had been second base. Now that they were a lot older, they spend their free time watching baseball games on TV and talking about baseball. "Do you think they play baseball in heaven?" Leanne said. And Todd one day thought, "That's a good question," said Todd. "The one who gets there first should let the other one know somehow," or something like that. As it turned out, Todd got to heaven first, and Leanne waited patiently to hear from him. One day, Leanne found Todd sitting in the living room waiting for him. Leon was very excited to see him. "What is it like up there?" he asked. "And what about baseball?" "When it comes to baseball," said Todd, "I have good news and some bad news. The good news is that we do play baseball in heaven. We have the finest teams too. But the bad news is that you're signed up tomorrow to be second pitch." The last one, the brown suit. A woman came to the funeral parlor to see her husband's corpse. "You did a good job," she said to the undertaker. "He looks just like the way he always looked, for except, hey, wait, he's not wearing a blue suit. My husband always wears a blue suit." "That is no problem," said the undertaker. "We can easily change it." When she returned, her husband was wearing a brown suit. "Now he looks just the way he always did." She said, "I know you went through a lot of trouble." "It was no trouble," he said. "As it happened, there is a man here who was wearing a brown suit, and his widow felt that blue would be better. He is about your husband's size, so we gave him the blue suit one and gave your husband the brown suit." "Even so," she said, "changing all the clothing was a big job." "Not really," said the undertaker. "All we did was just cut off the heads and switch them."